Adventure and riches await any swashbuckler brave enough to take on the helm and command a fleet. Wage war against rival captains, build and upgrade your ships with masts and cannons to increase speed and firepower, conquer islands and exploit the land to gain valuable resources. Navigate dangerous waters and avoid the ever-wandering storm. Are you ruthless enough to prevail? Do you seek gold and infamy? If ruling the seas be your ambition, it's time to unleash your inner pirate. It's time to plunder!
To unqualified, more explained tabletop. This is the Gateway Gamers podcast.
Ahoy there, welcome to the Gateway Gamers podcast. My name is Brian, and welcome. If you saw the title today, we're going to be talking Plunder, A Pirate's Life. This is a 2 to 6 player game, plays for 40 to 120 minutes, ages 10 plus, published by Lost Boy Entertainment. This is known as an area majority controlled dice rolling hand management game. When we were offered the opportunity to review this game, I jumped all over it. One of RP's favorite genres is pirates. Whenever we get a pirate game in, he's kind of always excited to play it. Unfortunately, I've not been able to introduce this game to him. However, I've played this game with other players, and it's a really cool, interesting type game. It's a great gateway game. So the point of Plunder is that you want to get 10 plunder points by the end of the game. And that's through different ways. It's how many ships you have. It's how many islands that you own. It's you can exchange cards to buy plunder points. Certain treasure cards that you find will give you plunder points. Fighting and sinking enemy ships will give you plunder points. Now, a lot of what I just said just sounds like gobbledygook if you don't know how to play, so let's get into it. The game setup is super simple. You set up the map. It's created by these giant rectangular like cardboard pieces that kind of fit together. Each time you play, the map is random, so you can flip. They're double-sided, so you can kind of flip the tiles around. It creates a different map every time you play. Around the map pieces, there's numbers. It goes up to 18, and then letters on the other side that go down to from A to L. And that's going to help you place the storm and the different X spots for treasure. So at the beginning of the game, what you're going to do is you're going to spin 2 dials, and it's going to be, one is a number dial, one's a letter dial, and that's where you place 3 X tokens on the map. These are going to be places that you could find treasure. And then you're also going to spin that for a storm. And what a storm is, it's a square piece that you kind of place on the map. And if you're trapped in there at any point, you have to give up resources to kind of move out of it. It just kind of hinders players from interacting too much in areas as it moves around. Each player is then going to pick one color that they want to be, and that's the color of the ship they take. And then you start at an island. You draw resource cards. So the resource cards are wood, iron, rum, and gold. And what's really neat is the card art is literally just, the wood card just looks like wood. Like the entire card itself is just like almost like a plank. Iron, the card just looks very metal. Rum, it just looks like alcohol, as if you were looking through like a pint of beer. And then gold is just a bunch of gold pieces. There's not much to it, but it works for what it is. The cards just stand out for what they are. Now, the economy of the game is really important. What you're doing with these cards is important because you're going to be building your fleet up. You're going to be hiring more men. You're going to be building your ships up. So to make more ships, you're going to want 2 wood cards, 1 iron card, 2 gold, cannons, 2 iron, 1 rum, 1 gold, mast, 1 wood, 2 rum. To get more players for your ship, you're going to need 1 wood card, iron, rum, gold. And each thing kind of does a different thing. The masts help you move around the map a little faster. The cannons add to your dice roll when you're attacking. And then members on your ship are your life points, so they're extremely important. And then building ships is how you're going out into this world and collecting treasure and gaining resources and completing goals and fighting other pirates. So the way to gain these resources are to going to the different islands. Like I said, you want to build these pirate ships to move about the map and to travel to these islands, because each island that you control gets you a resource to draw at the beginning of the turn. So there's different type of islands. There's resource islands. They're marked with skulls. You have to move to them, battle them to take control. You put one of your flag markers. That's your island that you own. There's merchant islands where you can trade resources to get more resources. Then there are just normal islands that are just kind of in your way when you're trying to move around. Now, movement in this game is the one thing that people really don't like about this game. It is what's known as a roll and move. It feels very old school. It feels like the type of games that you used to play when you were a kid, where you're just rolling the dice. That's how many squares you can kind of move. It's a bit unforgiving at time, where even if you roll 1, it just moves the storm. You don't even get to go a turn. You can move a maximum of 6, unless you have more masts on your ship. They add more movement to your move. But it can feel very slow at times. It can feel very luck heavy, and it's a way that people don't really like this game in that sense. For me, it didn't bother me too much. I enjoyed that this is a very like beer and pretzel type game. This is a game where you're kind of playing and you're talking, you're laughing. It doesn't need to move fast. You can meander a bit in between turns. But on your turn, it basically comes down to 2 things: acquiring resources from your occupied islands and rolling the dice. If you roll 1, as I said, shifts the storm. Other than that, you're moving around with the dice. And then as you're moving around, you could freely sail. You're attacking occupying islands. You're attacking other enemies. You're collecting treasure. The combat is also straightforward. Each side rolls a dice, adding +1 for each cannon, or the skulls that are visible on the island. Movement and skirmishes really only take seconds. There's no passive abilities to really worry about. There's no combat cards. There's nothing hidden. You kind of know everything that's happening. Building up your economy and driving around the map is fun, but the real fun is the fate of kind of how the game plays. Around the map, as I said, there's the X marks, and this is the treasure of Plunder. When you find an X, you draw from the treasure deck, and that's where it's really fun, because it's very random and very thematic. I think the cards are fun. The deck is gigantic, so you're never going to see the same cards all the time if you play this game a lot. The cards always have like a little bit of flavor text, which I feel like adds to the theme of the game, and kind of you can play a little bit to what you're doing if you want to play as a pirate, if you want to kind of role play a bit. Some of my favorites are I Am the Storm. Your fake map tricks a foe away from the bounty and into treacherous waters. So it gives you 2 gold, and then you can place any enemy ship inside the storm. This one's my favorite, Blackout. It's this hall of barrels of liquid goodness. You celebrate too hard and fall asleep at the helm. You get +3 rum cards, and then use the compasses that you would use for the storm to place your ship, and then your turn's over. So it's essentially you found a bunch of rum passed out, and your ship just kind of floated to this random place. Land Ho moves your ship to an accessible port, which is huge because that's a big movement. Wind at your back, you get +2 gold, and you can move your ship up to 3 more spaces. Great White, you find treasure in shark-infested waters. You treat the wounds with alcohol and a hot blade. So you lose 1 iron, you lose 1 rum, and you gain 3 gold. Dinghy, you find an abandoned rowboat, +2 wood, +1 iron. So it's just very thematic. It's just like you're finding these things as you travel, and you're looting and pillaging them. Hail to the Thief, no pirate's bounty be safe. All players must give you all their gold. And I think this one was my absolute favorite. And it's devastating, but it's also rewarding. It's called Midas. And it's if gold you want, it's gold you get. You'd be touched by an ancient curse. Swap out all your resources and change them to gold. So that could be absolutely devastating if you're trying to gain wood and rum to build more mast. But turning all your stuff into gold is also good, because for every 5 gold you trade in, you can get a plunder point. So it's not the worst thing, but it stinks if you're trying to create an objective or you're trying to do something with it. But I think the cards are super fun. I think it adds to the theme of what the game is. Every time you draw a card, you kind of take a breath, because you don't know if you're getting something that's going to benefit you, if it's something that's going to hurt you, if it's something that's going to hurt the other players. It just kind of is always a gamble, and I feel like that's what it would be if you're a pirate. You don't know. You're just kind of floating around finding things, and you don't know if it's going to be good or bad. Usually it was probably bad. So I like the theme of the treasure cards. I think that's the main appeal of this game. Interaction with other players is also a real interesting part of this game. As I said, you can attack other ships. And then basically it just comes down to a die roll. So when you're moving around the map, if you get too close to another ship, you can choose to attack them. You're basically rolling the die. If I roll a 6 and RP rolls a 3, I win. If you have cannons, each cannon you have adds 1 to your pips of the roll. And then it's just basically one of the life points or people on that ship disappears. And that's kind of it. However, if you're playing with multiple players, which is what I recommend, I think this is like a good 4-player game. You can choose to work with the other pirates or other players to kind of screw over other players or just be beneficial. You can kind of create different treaties with other players. So you can trade with other players if you kind of make it next to them instead of battling. You could trade different cards that you kind of have. You want gold, you could trade for rum, whatnot. They can land on your island that you control, and you can also trade there. You can also use bribing. Bribing is also a huge thing, and threatening, where if you are going to attack them, you can say, hey, like, I want to attack you if you give me 5 gold cards. And then if they choose to, they could bribe you, and then that's kind of the end of the skirmish. So I thought that was interesting. I like that mechanic of, listen, I'm down to, this is my last ship, I'm down to 2 lives, like, please don't attack me, here's 5 gold, here's 2 rum, like, leave me be. I like that aspect of it. I like being able to trade with other players if you kind of need to, working with players to kind of maybe go against the player who has a bigger advantage, I think is a really cool component of the game, because I feel like that's what pirates would do. Now, I mentioned in the beginning the storm. I think the storm is a really cool mechanic in the game as well. It's not devastating, but it is annoying. It's always around. As I said, anytime a person rolls a 1, the storm gets moved randomly with the 2 spinners. You spin 1, it goes to where the letter is, 1 to where the number is. You just kind of match those grids. And it's not a huge thing, but it stops you from collecting treasure. If you're in it and another player's not, you can't attack them. If you want to move through it, it costs you 2 resources. I think it's just enough to be annoying without being devastating. And I think it's just a neat mechanic. It's also just stressful anytime someone rolls a 1 and you're kind of spinning. You just don't want it to fall on top of you, which has happened a lot when we're playing. And that's the entire game. It's a very straightforward game. A few actions here, a few actions there. Randomly generated map, randomly generated storm, random resources, random treasure placements. And it's essentially a very dice-heavy game. This feels like a game that I would play when I was a kid. This is the type of game I would play in the 90s with my brother and maybe my cousins. And it's easy to explain. It's easy to play. This is a great gateway game. I think this is a great family game. Even for hardcore gamers, I think this is just a good palate-cleansing game that feels big. It feels bombastic, but it is essentially a beer and pretzel. Let's sit around the table. Let's goof around. Let's have fun. Let's pretend to be pirates. Let's talk. This is a great game for playing, but also just talking. There's not a lot of thinking. There's not a lot of things you have to worry about. You don't have powers. When you're attacking, it's just dice roll. There's no, oh, is he going to have this card in his hand? He's going to have that card. In that sense, I think this is a great game. It feels like a throwback to an earlier time when games were simpler. The luck heaviness will turn some people off, but like I said, if you know what it is, like, this feels like an old game that was just very luck heavy, like those early 90 games where you're just rolling and trying to get away from a volcano or a bridge or whatever else. So the luck aspect doesn't bother me. I actually kind of enjoy it for this kind of game. It's a humorous game. Like I said, the different cards, I think we got a good laugh out of, throwing people into a storm, doing different things. Like, I genuinely had fun playing this game. It can get slow at times. The movement is brutal, but it does work for what it is. Rolling a 3 just really dampers you when you're just like, all right, I'll roll 3, and there's not much else you could do in your turn. You just kind of go 3 spaces, your turns over. That aspect of it, I think, kind of stinks that you don't have other options on your turn besides just kind of gaining resources for your islands and then moving. That's kind of all you can do. It's a little disheartening, but the game's so quick, you don't really notice it that much. And what it lacks in that, it makes for an action. When you are doing things, when you're attacking, and then when you're interacting with other players, or when the game is interacting with you, it makes up for a bit of those slow pacing of movement and doing different things. Another thing I don't love is just there's no other ways to mitigate your resources. So it's happened a couple times where one player is just kind of getting ganged up on. They have one ship kind of putt-putting around the ocean. Their last island got taken over by another player. So they're essentially gaining no resources. They have to come from way behind. Again, it's thematic. It makes sense. If you're a one-shipped pirate with no islands, you're not going to have a lot of resources to draw in to create a better army. But in a game sense, it's just kind of like, there's no other ways to mitigate your resources, unless you're going for those X's. But if they pop up negative, you're just kind of getting beat down even more. So with that all being said, I'm going to go through kind of our scoring, our grading of what makes a game good for us. So we're going to go through the different aspects of what makes a game important for me and where I would rate it. So the big thing is theme. If you know us, you know we love a theme. RP loves a pirate theme. I am fine with a pirate theme. I feel like this game does well. I don't think it oozes theme, but I think it does well with the theme. When you're playing this game, it's fast and loose with the pirate. You feel like you're pirate. It doesn't take itself too serious, which I enjoy. So in that sense, it feels like a pirate game. It's just kind of moving around the map. You're a boat. You're doing piratey things of treasure and dealing with the ocean and the different things. Yada, yada, yada. I would have liked a little bit more theme somehow. I think I would have liked more perils instead of just a storm that's rolling around. Maybe you fight not other pirates, but the Navy kind of comes in and they're trying to stop you. If it was just like a ship that kind of moved around and hindered you and would just attack you, like that's just a little bit more theme. I think it would have done well. But for what it is, great theme. I think it really fits. Next is the aesthetics of the game and how it looks on the table. The one thing I've been avoiding talking about because I would be gushing on it forever is the quality of this game, is the way this game looks. This game is fantastic. This game is almost more of a toy than a game. Moving around things on this board, putting the pieces in. So when I say you're building the mast and when you're placing people in your boat and you're putting cannons on your boat, you're literally doing that. It's a rubber little type of boat. And then you get little cannon pieces that fit into pegs on your ship. Masts fit on little pegs of your ship. The little people, the lives that you're getting are little pegs that you put on your boat. Moving the boat around is so satisfying and so much fun that when I talked about the slow movement and rolling a 3 is disappointing, it's because you want to move this boat around. The quality of this game is fantastic. When this game is out on the table with all the ships and the map and the you have your little flags on the islands, you have the X's on the map, the storm is just a big square. It looks so bombastic and so much fun. The quality of everything in this game is 1,000% amazing for what it is. This is a very simple game with amazing components. Card quality, component quality, the insert to put everything back into the box, fantastic. It's some of the best quality pieces for such a simple game, and I love it. I love that it's, like I said, it literally throws me back to the 90s. I feel like I'm in the 90s again, playing some old coffin box style game that I found at Toys R Us and I know nothing about, but I'm like, hey, I like pirates, and you're figuring out how to play, or you're making the rules up because you have no idea what you're doing, which I've done plenty of time with board games in the past. It feels fun. Everything about this, the quality of the pieces, and like I said, the table presence, how everything looks on the table with the boats and everything else. fantastic. I cannot say enough good things. I waited till the end so I could gush about it because I knew it would go on and on. But the quality of everything, the fun of the boats, and the way the map looks, mwah, chef's kiss. Hats off to Lost Boy Entertainment because it's fantastic. Next up would be replay value. Yeah, I think this game is replayable. It's not a game that I want to get out all the time. Like I said, it's essentially a roll and move, so you kind of know what you're going to be doing. The cards do have variety. Every time you play, you're not going to run into the same things, but it's essentially kind of the same things. You're going to be losing things, you're going to be gaining things are going to be moving around. So I think there's replayability. This is a game that will last on my shelf. It's a game that I can pull out, play with my nephew. It's a game I can play, I'll put on my nieces. This is a game I can introduce to maybe my wife. This is a game you introduce to hardcore players once in a while, but this isn't a game that people are going to be clamoring for you to get to the table. When I come over, they're not going to be like, bring that Plunder game. But if I bring it, I don't think this is a game that people are going to shy away from. So I think the replay value is kind of low on this, but it's not unplayable. You're not going to discover everything on the first time around. Ease of play, gateway game. This is a gateway game through and through. I was able to explain it pretty quickly on your turn. Like I said, you're getting cards, you're rolling dice, moving around, going to the X to try to get resources, using the resources to buy stuff for ships, trading it in. It's not complicated. It's something you kind of sit and teach in 5 minutes to someone to understand. And then even action isn't brain thinking. You're not doing a bunch of math. It's you're rolling a dice. This number plus cannons minus this equals this. Simple math even I could do, and I'm terrible at math. So I think ease of play is very high on this game. I think this is a great gateway family game. As I said, beer and pretzel, goof around the table, teach real quick, play. Don't take it too serious type of game. Tactics, lucks, and strategy. As I said, this is a very luck-heavy game, which works for this. This isn't a game where I would expect it to be too mechanic-heavy. This is a game where it's like, all right, roll dice. Whatever happens, happens. If you're a pirate, back in the day, you just used a compass and you floated around and randomly found stuff, and that's what this game is. Fits the theme. Strategy, there's not much to it. It's just like, oh, do I want to go to this island, do this, or do I want to go to the X and do this, or do I want to go battle this person and do this? That's pretty much it. There's not much strategy you're doing. But it's there. It's not completely lost, but it's very luck-heavy. If you're a luck-heavy person, this is not going to be the game for you. So that's Plunder, A Pirate's Life from Lost Boy Entertainment. I can't do it enough justice. If this is a game you're interested in, look at pictures. When you're looking it up, it's fantastic. The components are amazing. The group over at Lost Boy did a wonderful job with this game, with mechanics, but also, as I said, the toyability of it all, with the cannons and the pegs and the masts and the flags and everything else, is perfection. Pretty sure, I've read recently, this is going to be available at Target, so this is perfect for our demographic of games that you can easily find and are accessible. Don't quote me on that, but as I said, I'm pretty sure I heard recently from Lost Boy Entertainment that this should be available at your Target. If not, you can find it elsewhere online or directly from Lost Boy Entertainment. Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to follow our Instagram for pictures of the game and other games that we've covered. Facebook, X, Twitter, whatever it's called now. RP runs that for us. We have merch over at TeePublic and Redbubble. If you want stickers, hats, shirts, helps us out. Tell your friends about us. Give us a listen. Go on wherever you're listening, Spotify. Give us a like. Leave us a comment. Apple, rate, like, subscribe, whatever all that stuff is. We're also on YouTube now as just an audio medium. We don't have any videos of us up there yet. It's not really something we're planning on, but if you are a person that listens to stuff on YouTube, I listen to different things on YouTube here and there. We are available on there as well. But again, thank you so much. Look forward to our next episode. Next time I hang out with RP, I am introducing him to a fantastic game, another game that I love, and I'm super excited for you guys to hear about it. I'm super excited to hear what he thinks about it, and I hope he doesn't break my heart. All right, thank you so much for listening. See ya.